Right now on 10 News at 11.
The search for the Church's Chicken killer finally over. Detectives tracking the suspect thousands of miles away from San Diego.
Local vacation rentals turned into pop-up brothels. Tourists replaced by pimps. How police are spotting sex crimes hiding in plain sight.
I'm gonna miss her so much. She truly was a blessing.
Family and friends remembering a mother and her children killed by their father. We have new details on the one child still in the hospital.
Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
Investigators say this is the face of a cold-blooded killer, a man who walked into a Church's Chicken in Otay Mesa, shot 3 employees, and then just took off.
For more than 2 weeks, Albert Blake has been on the run. But today, the U.S. Marshals tracked him down in Memphis, Tennessee. 10 News anchor Lindsay Pena is live where the shooting happened. And Lindsay, the family of the woman killed, is relieved that he's been caught.
Kim and Steve, you can still see a memorial out here in front of Church's Chicken in Maribel Ibanez's honor. Now, her family didn't want to talk on camera tonight, but I spoke to her sister on the phone, and she says they are relieved to hear of this arrest and just want justice for Maribel. It's been a little over 2 weeks since Maribel Ibanez was shot and killed while she worked at this Church's Chicken in Otay Mesa. 2 other employees were also shot but survived. The man police say pulled the trigger had been on the run until now.
I thought it was just a relief for everybody all the way around, especially here in the community.
Ruben Torres is a friend of Maribel's family. He says the news spread quickly that this man, Albert Lee Blake, had been arrested Friday in Memphis, Tennessee. San Diego police say he was taken into custody with the help of the U.S. Marshals.
I think there was a sense of fear for a while because they didn't know if he was going to come back and strike again.
At this point, investigators haven't said exactly how Blake ended up in Memphis or how they were able to track him there. The night of the Church's shooting, police believe he got into an argument with the employees after he tried to use a counterfeit bill to pay for his meal. He left and returned with a gun, opening fire. In the days since, Maribel's family and friends have held several events in her memory and continued to hold out hope that their loved one's killer would be found. And although her family didn't want to talk tonight, her mother had this to say last weekend.
It's not worth taking nobody's life away. It's because I'm a mother. I don't want no mother to pass what I'm passing right now.
Blake is now awaiting extradition back to San Diego. It's not clear when he could return. We're reporting live in Otay Mesa. Lindsay Pena, 10 News.
Lindsay, thank you. People with the 10 News app were notified right away about the arrest. You can download the free version of the app to stay on top of new developments in this story.
It's easier than ever to find a place to rent on a short-term basis anywhere in the world. But this relatively new business model has touched off a whole new way of doing business for another industry, the sex trade. Globally, there's a rise in pop-up brothels, and San Diego's tourism makes it a target for those both selling and buying sex. But these brothels are hiding in plain sight.
This one looks good. This one will do money.
And all I can think is, nobody knows where I am.
This fact-based drama called Doing Money tells the shocking true story of a young woman named Anna who spent 9 months as a sex slave in pop-up brothels in Ireland.
Do as you're told.
Anna was snatched off the streets of London in broad daylight. That's rare, but what happened to her once she was in the hands of sex traffickers was not.
And within 12 hours of being taken off the streets was in a brothel.
Producer Mike Dormer says Anna and all those like her are entrapped physically and mentally.
Once they're in the hands of the traffickers, once they've been moved from one place to another, they have no friends, no money, no clothes, no passports. They simply cannot escape.
Often kept cold, drugged, and hungry.
Is that toast? Can I have some? You don't do money, we don't feed you.
And moved by the pimps from one short-term rental to another. The global issue of pop-up brothels is alive and well in San Diego.
We have this going on in the massage parlors, the motels, the hotels, and we also have it going on in short-term vacation rentals, in apartments, and in condominiums, and in homes.
Deputy District Attorney Carolyn Matzker is assigned to the San Diego Sex Trafficking Task Force. They've busted a pop-up brothel operating out of an upscale condo in Mission Valley. 2 people were arrested. A third adult was rescued who had been trafficked here from the East Coast through Los Angeles and into San Diego. These 2 pleaded guilty to pimping and pandering. The heads of the operation were prosecuted in Orange County.
It was a fairly well-sophisticated criminal organization that was running it. They had 2 people inside running the computers and running the security portion of it.
This task force officer was there for the takedown.
They had a call center that actually had a dispatcher that would tell the sex buyers or the Johns where to go, how to get there. They would give them a code to be able to enter into the building.
He says it all starts here on the internet. The girls advertise sex. After a John sets up a meeting, he'll get the location.
They'll get directed to go to a brothel, whether that's a condo, could be an Airbnb.
Sometimes officers follow the internet trail. Other cases come from neighbors.
If you have a lot of vehicles coming in and out and they're only staying for about a half an hour, that could be indicative of a brothel.
And unlike guns and drugs, which can only be sold once, a person can be sold over and over again.
10 times a day, 10 times a night. They work all night long.
30,000 euros. I made it back in 13 days.
Isolated and totally under the fist of her traffickers.
She's dependent upon them for where she sleeps, where she eats, when she's allowed to sleep. And that's what we see here in San Diego.
Because she has to remember who she belongs to.
He did this to prove I'm his little star. He branded you.
She is no longer her own person, no longer a human being. She's somebody's property. And that's why this is modern day slavery.
Anna escaped and contacted police.
Anna.
She testified against her traffickers. They were convicted and sentenced to 3 years.
We are everywhere. People only have to look.
On any given day in San Diego County, the DA's office reports there are 3,000 to 8,000 victims of sex trafficking. Doing Money, the story of Anna, played at the San Diego Film Festival last month. A panel, including local law enforcement, spoke about how they're tackling this issue. And last year in San Diego County, human trafficking was an $810 million industry.
Startling numbers. Wow. A former high-ranking sheriff's captain and one of San Diego's most well-known jewelers. They are key figures in a major gun trafficking ring. 10 News was in federal court today as prosecutors laid out the case against Marco Garmo. He used to head up the Rancho San Diego Sheriff's substation and planned to run for sheriff. Garmo is accused of using his position to buy and sell more than 100 guns that were only meant for law enforcement. Leo Hamill is accused of helping Garmo resell the guns and falsify the records. 10 News was at the jeweler's shop when it was raided earlier this year. Today, Hamill pleaded guilty.
This is a classic firearms trafficking case.
Garmo and one other man pleaded not guilty. A fifth suspect has not yet been caught.
I'm gonna miss her so much.
A community rallying around a grieving family. Hundreds held a vigil for a mother and 3 children shot and killed in her own home by the children's father. The lone surviving child still in grave condition at the hospital. 10 News reporter Anthony Pura is live in Paradise Hills. Anthony, the family says they'll accept whatever happens to that boy.
And the family says all they can do is stay optimistic, and so many people praying with them tonight. A huge turnout at the vigil held just outside this church, this tragedy impacting an entire community.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
United in song, bonded by grief and joined by candlelight. The community came together at United Church of Christ in Paradise Hills to remember a family murdered in their own home by the mother's estranged husband. It was an extremely emotional night for Angel Rosario, remembering his 3 grandchildren and his daughter Sabrina.
And her nickname was, in Spanish, was Mi Morena Café con Crema. My mocha skin coffee with cream.
A nickname he gave her, he says, because of her beautiful skin.
She has a lovely honey complexion.
But Angel says his daughter was always a mother first.
And she was a great mom. Those kids, they were asleep by 8:30. They would wake up in time to go to school. As soon as they got home from school, they do their homework.
Many of the children's teachers and classmates attended the vigil to say goodbye to Sabrina's 3 boys. They also said prayers for her other son, 9-year-old Ezekiel. Doctors have taken him off a medically induced coma. They are running tests that could determine whether he will pull through. The family is optimistic, but they are prepared for the worst.
For this weekend, we'll know one way or the other whether Ezekiel is going to remain with us or he's going to join his mommy and his brother.
And the family says they have not yet finalized funeral plans. They're still waiting to hear what happens with Ezekiel's fate. They want him to be buried with his mother and siblings, should it come down to that. Again, a very sad story tonight. We're reporting live tonight. Anthony Pura, 10 News.